Hey there, guys. Firstly, apologies for the slightly dodgy audio. It is what it is. Apologies. Today, we're going to be talking about my Glory Valiant or post Glory Valiant tier list. Now, I'll clarify before we get started on anything that I haven't tested this in any sort of rigorous capacity. This is purely based off of my experience in the game and I've been playing since the start. So if you're new here, just a little blurb on why you should take this at least reasonably seriously, even if with a significant pinch of salt. I've been playing the game since launch. I got top 8 at Worlds this year, and I've topped many events. So generally speaking, I like to think I vaguely know what is going on with this game. So yeah, that's why I think you should take what I'm saying at least reasonably seriously. It's very possible I will get things wrong. Hopefully not so badly wrong that it's embarrassing. But generally speaking, this should be roughly what I think the tier list will look like post Glory Valiant. And I will say, I think we're actually in a very interesting state of the game, is the sort of polite way of putting it, where everything is kind of so broken that to an extent it doesn't really matter what you're playing. Really going first is a lot more important than what you're playing beyond a certain point. For example, if you take a tier 3 deck against a tier 1 deck, you're probably not going to have a great time. But anyway, so let's get started. And we'll start off with the one that pains me the most. Black Organ tier 3. It really hurts because this deck was so good only a few months ago, but basically the way the format has developed, the amount of protection that's around, I don't think the deck is really as bad as tier 3, but the amount of effort required to play it, combined with um, the fact that so many of your tools are just rendered completely useless by a lot of generic tools that are available in the game, and a lot of tools that decks have individually that are just these sort of staple auto runs that aren't even really run for that purpose. They just run because they do other things and they happen to give immunity. Basically, in a competitive setting, I would advise against playing Black Org in its traditional sense. There are other ways to play Conan, but I'm not going to get super into those because they're kind of degenerate, and I don't necessarily endorse it. Uh, Beyond highlight to Bushy Road how bad some of their rules are. Right, Roselia in tier 2. The reason this is here is because it doesn't do anything special. However, it is incredibly brainless, super autopilot. So whilst that does make it very linear, it also is very consistent. So it's basically going to be doing exactly what you want it to do almost every time. Same with IMAS, really brain dead. Actually, I'd put Rosario in 1.5 because the thing that makes IMAS not so great is because the strongest version of it was this Anzu discard, and whilst going the thing is like going first, kind of every deck is really good. So I don't really think it's valid anymore to highlight just how strong something is going first because everything is super strong going first. I think that's hopefully the last time I'll say that. So we want to think about going second. And going second, at least Roselia can, bash your fucking face in. Going second, the deck already was pretty weak going second, but now with the existence of I can't remember the name of the card, but the promo, the Dragon World one that you can run everything. When it's dropped, you can't drop cards for the rest of the turn. You draw 2. This deck's completely dead, and this was the only variant of IMAS that was really worth playing. Feels bad for Gridman players. Yeah, this is legitimate tier 3. Okay, we'll put this in tier 2 because at least you could play it. This is actual tier 3. Eyes, I'm also going to put in tier 2. I don't really think it does anything particularly valuable. And I'll say that basically because we have access to these generic tools that kind of make the deck not really do what it's meant to do. So I don't think it's particularly strong. Gaga 1.5. Super strong, does a lot of things, is very susceptible to loyalty, which is, like Roselia, a very significant weakness. Um, but so yeah, like you know, if your entire turn kind of gets cocked by one loyalty, that's not great. It's kind of going to bar you from tier one, in my opinion, and certainly tier three. I am torn because it is really good. And it does have a lot of these really strong older tools. So I'm not sure whether or not it is stronger than Ultimate Unite Gaga. So I'm going to put them both in 1.5. I think they both have very very strong aggro. They both have a lot of really strong tools, a lot of consistency cards, a lot of advantage gaining now, and fundamentally they are in Dragon World. So having access to the Eternal Rivals package is ridiculous. So at a bare minimum, they kind of have to be tier 1.5, I think. Could they be tier 1? Yeah, I think they totally could be tier 1. So if we were going to order these in any sense, I think it would be something like this. Um, yeah, it'd be something like this probably. Go with that. Oh, yeah, I do think both of these could push up to tier 1, depending on testing. DD's obviously tier 1. I want to put them in tier 0, but I'm not going to because they are not tier 0. They, if they lose a dice roll to a very large number of decks, they will lose. So, yeah, definitely not tier 0. As strong as they are, and I'll say like this is the best investment. This deck is by far the best investment you could have made in the game's history. Next up, we have Astro Dragons. This is interesting. Because again, it's another big aggro face deck. It has access to spell nulls. It does have access to some of these other tools. So I'll put it in 1.5 and I'll put it above Roselia. I think Roselia is kind of the baseline for 1.5. Athora, tier 1. Athora's really, really good. Really, really, really strong. Jack. Honestly, I don't think Jack is super good. I'm going to put it in tier 2. However, I will say that I'm not a. This is Star Dragon Ball Jack. I don't think any of the other variants are really worth talking about at the moment. I will say it's entirely possible I'm completely off base, and Jack is super good, because I famously hate Jack and therefore will not put in the effort when considering it or when testing it. I'll at least think about it. But I don't think the deck is 100% amazing. I'm sure Ben or VG Blaster will comment if I've said something super stupid. Link Dragon Order goes in tier 3 because that's a position I've had since the deck came out, and therefore legally I'm not allowed to change it. But realistically, it's tier 2, probably like here or something. It's not very good. I don't think it's very good. Again, it's just another one. It's just like a little aggro deck, but it is not as good as the other aggro decks. I feel like I don't know. Again, I might be just being overly harsh on it, but it's never done anything particularly special. I'll say the Hot Springs set spell is pretty good. So maybe we'll put it up here. It's okay. To be fair, it's probably better than Eyes by now. It sort of has to be. I feel like, and it does have access to. I think I don't think they ever did hit the infinite draw loop. They might have, but I don't think they ever did. So I mean, they do still have that. Not that it's played. Max Dragons, tier 1.5 as well. They get big. They get really big. And whilst they will be, and Graces on Daily helped the deck so much. Now, I feel like they will be in trouble come Buddy Revival or Revival Buddies, because obviously Vanity Epoch Reboot goes fuck you. But still, no. I mean, Grace of the Sun Daily, it does so much to stop them instant losing. And then you have to hit over this huge like 80k body, which is tough. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a decent deck. There are a lot of ways to cuck it, which is why it's not like up here or something. Because with Max, I always felt like it was either going to be here or here, just entirely depending on the power level of the rest of the game. But Bushiroad have managed to design a game so broken such that it's actually managed to land in the middle, which is kind of impressive. Super Warriors tier 1. I feel like that. This is the bare minimum to be an amazing aggro deck in 2020. Athora is better because it does aggro almost as well, but it does defense like a billion times better. This has like the best defense in the game, pretty much. So, you know, um, but yeah, Super Warrior is pretty crazy. Oh, I just realized I don't have Time Dragons on here. Oh, because it's not an individual world section. That's really embarrassing. Um, Time Dragons are at the bottom of tier 1.5. You can imagine Time Dragons are here. Oh God. Okay, I might have to add that real quick. Let me add that real quickly. So I don't look like a complete moron when I publish this, and everyone's like, "Where the hell is Time Dragons?" But I'll talk about Time Dragons, so you know your time is not wasted listening to me. So, um, uh, basically, the reason Time Dragons aren't super good is one, they don't have access to generics, and that is going to be an issue. Uh, yeah, that is going to be an issue. Because so many of the powerful generic tools are the tools you use, right? Like if you want your deck to do something or have an out to a certain situation, a lot of the time it comes in the form of generic. Additionally, every other deck pretty much has outs to to Time Dragon as controls, biggest strength, which was spinning, or Grace the Sunday, he says no. Um, and finally, um, it's very easy to kill this deck um, before it reaches the four flip flags. I can't remember the name. Sorry, it reaches the N0 or whatever it's called, the End Dragon, or even goes into the permanently stop time one. Um, and there, yeah, I mean, basically, it's just there are so many outs to kind of everything this deck does that it's just, I mean, yeah, I guess it's better than Roselia, but I mean, don't take this ordering too seriously. But like, I mean, this is really the ordering is really a guess, but like, I it's definitely in the bottom end. Yeah. Super Robot is an interesting one. They hit really hard. They have solid aggro. I'm not too sure, so I'm gonna chuck them in tier 1.5 purely because they're a new deck with a ton of consistency cards and a lot of strong aggro. Right, Zeus. I'm chucking this one right up here. I'm putting this at the top of tier 1.5. It probably isn't the top of tier 1.5, but I'm putting up there because I feel like it deserves to be recognized as pretty much since release the strongest rogue pick because it can kind of just totally fuck you up. It's super good. It's a really cool deck, and obviously having access to these counter calls and stuff during your opponent's turn is so good. And you still have access to the whole chest break combo. Obviously, losing what's it called obstruct was a massive blow for this deck, but there are now so many good generic tools and generic defensive tools that Danger's incredible frailty uh, is not as big an issue. Question mark? I don't know for sure because now I think you can survive. Because obviously, you got the body block, you got the React Moon, you got that stuff. I think you can survive. I think. But again, needs testing. Electro Deity, whoa, that's kind of funky. Yeah, I mean, straight to top of tier one. Basically the same level as DD's, in my opinion. Going first, the decks are just so good. Um, because you can set up, so where DD sets up like the Disturb hand into Moon and Empress, ED sets up the Spell Null into Disturb and Empress. And depending on the matchup, one of those is better than the other. I think DD's is more consistent in doing that, so hence why it is higher. However, everyone and their mum knows how to play against DDs. And to be fair, everyone and their mum also knows how to play against EDs, but they probably haven't tested the matchup as much. And I know there are very prominent members of the community who are so far off base on how good EDs are that it's entirely possible that large swathes of the community don't even remember it's a thing. Very possible. So yeah, I mean, good deck. Folktale, another really strong rogue contender. The deck does a lot of stuff. It is super vulnerable to loyalty, obviously, but it's got outs to some important stuff. It's just good. It is just a really good deck, and it's fun as well. And also, this is pretty much the only deck on this list that can seriously compete, even going second, thanks to Overturn Miseria, which will just reset it and go, no, I think I'll go first. Which is, I mean, alone is enough to kind of push it into tier 1.5, and then with the rest of the stuff the deck can do, it pushes all the way up to the top of it. Cursed Dragons, another very, very strong tier 1.5 deck. Are they tier 1? Maybe. The problem is I pretty much always think a Darkness Dragonmail deck is stronger than it is, purely because the stuff always seems so nutty on paper, and then it ends up being a little bit worse in practice. So I do want to test this, but I do think it's really strong. And the set spell is the new set impact is so good. It's just strong. I think I can put EDD in 1.5. I could argue tier 2. I don't think they're tier 2 though. I think they fucking tier 2. Yeah, I don't think they're that good. They're like here. Right. okay. Magic World. Magic World's just an L, dude. It's not even 1.5. It's just an L. I feel bad. I feel bad for Magic World. We'll put Sync up here as well. And put Excel Blade here as well. Like is Excel Blade tier 2? No, there's a burn deck and Grace Sunday exists. Yeah, they can all go in tier 2. These are just like kind of feels bad. Horus, I'm going to put in the 1.5 because even though it's kind of been power creeped, that secret spell that is just like a Veiler for 4 is just so good. And outing effect nullification is not super prevalent, so I do think the deck is still pretty good. Put Time Dragons at the bottom and Rosalia at the bottom. Go at the bottom. Yeah. Right, next. Okay. Our next tier 3 deck. It's been a while. Imperial Core are fucking dog shit, and if you think they're not, you're just wrong. Your whole deck, like everything you do, gets immediately outed by one card that every main decks at 2 and probably sides at 1 to 2 as well. Like how do you in any scenario think that is like better than tier 3? You're wrong. You're wrong. Sorry. This deck was always Black Orc with training wheels. This was the deck you played to prepare you to play this deck if you were Unga Bunga in the brain. But now, I mean, you must be Unga Bunga in the brain on a new level to even consider playing it for anything other than fun. Which I would also, is it even fun to play Imperial Core? It's literally just a worse version of Black Orc. Anyway, right. I actually don't know. This is not good. I haven't put Lev on here, but Lev is not good. I'm gonna put it in tier 2. And I might be wrong about that. It might be low key quite good, but I don't think it is. What the hell is this? Oh, right, yeah. Okay. Right. Let's start off by handing out another L. Mobile Aerial Team back in the bottom of tier 3. Actually, not bottom of tier 3. Almost bottom of tier 3. The only reason Gridman isn't bottom of tier 3 is because Kaiju exists, and that's a deck that actually does something. So, yeah. Matt, still vulnerable to everything it was vulnerable to 2 years ago. I mean, there you go. That should be everything you need to know. And finally, we have the two spicy. I think these are both. I think Shinsengumi is tier 1.5. I'll put it here. And I think Cosmo Dragoon is tier 1. And if you don't know why, I'm not going to tell you. I'm gonna ask you to go and do your research and look into it because they're pretty fucking fun, and they are budget in the sense that if you already own like the generic Dragon World pieces, the generic Star Dragon World pieces, Lost World, that kind of stuff, they're not too expensive to pick up. So I would say go and look into it. They're fun decks. They are definitely fun. Like I just want Time Dragons in. You know what? Fuck you. I'm putting Time Dragons in tier two. I don't give a shit. Fuck Time Dragons. All right. That's the tier list. So final thoughts on this. Again, I'll reiterate. I could be completely off base. I don't think I'm completely off base. I think I might have messed up a couple choices that are, rogue or newer that I haven't really seen played very well, or that I've forgotten about some super important old tool that just makes it really good in some scenarios. No worry there actually. I would say tier one is ordered. I think tier one is ordered. I think tier 1.5 is very roughly ordered. Tier two is not really ordered at all, and tier three is a bunch of dog shit. If your deck isn't on here, I think it's probably worse than tier three. It's unlikely I forgot about it. For a reason that is not it's so bad that I haven't thought about it. Like fifth on me, like Lamau. Other things to say? Yeah, I think we're in a state of the game where basically, if you're playing like above this level, if you're playing any deck above tier two, and specifically any deck above like tier 1.5 and above, you can win. If you win the dice roll, because everything is so degenerate. But the stuff that's better can kind of, even if you lose the dice roll, it can do stuff, even if it won't always do stuff. Obviously, there are exceptions, like DDs will losing like this stuff here, depending on the way the dice roll swings, can just lose. So yeah, I mean, to other stuff in here, obviously. I mean, it's dependent. Obviously, it's a very complex game. It's not linear. You have to understand your deck and the format to pilot any of these to any sort of even top eight level success. So anyway, that's the tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you think I've said something super stupid, and if you want to roast me. I'm very open to being roasted. I want to be proven wrong. Please convince me that Black Orc is somehow tier zero. I'd love to. Please, please. But yeah. All right. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.